From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know. A production of iHeartRadio.
Hello, welcome back to the show. My name is Matt.
My name is Noel.
They call me Ben. We are joined, as always, with our super producer, Dylan the Tennessee Pal Fagan. Most importantly, you are you. You are here. That makes this the stuff they don't want you to know. If you are hearing this the evening it comes out, folks, let us be the first to welcome you to Thursday, November 7th. We are so excited to have our fellow conspiracy realists join us. We're going to talk bank scandals. We're going to hear a letter from a teacher. We're going to get some letters from home. Before we do any of that, we are going to hear from one of the many conspiracy realists who followed up with their own harrowing experiences regarding our episode on abuse in the Amish community.
Yeah, we'll come right back with that after this quick little word. And we're back. And yeah, as Ben mentioned, we had quite a few listeners write into us about the recent episode we did on abuse within the Amish community. And one in particular stood out to me that I wanted to share from an Aussie listener who goes by Solar Boredom. He had this to say: "Good day, gentlemen. I've been listening for a few years now and very much enjoy the information and banter you all bring to the table. Even when there are topics that may not be my cup of tea or may have some conflicting information, I still enjoy listening to all of your takes. I just want to say that you all come forward as genuinely caring individuals." It's very kind of you to say, Solar Boredom. He goes on: "I just listened to the Amish abuse scandal episode, and living in Australia and only really having knowledge about the Amish through television and pop culture and Weird Al, I didn't realize that perpetrators of abuse could reintegrate within the community after a period of shunning. I do also wonder if any fathers or other family members of a victim could then retaliate." He says, "Beat the shit out of someone, as we would say here." Well, Solar Boredom, we say that over here too. "Against the abuser, and then only have to apologize and then be forgiven." That's interesting. "I also can't help but think that if a victim of abuse were a male child, then maybe the punishment might be a bit more severe." That is very interesting, and we'll talk about that in just a sec. "Once again, thank you for what you guys do. You can use this on air if you wish and refer to me as Solar Boredom. P.S. To whomever put the random doorbell in the opening song, it makes me laugh every time."
Thank you, Solar Boredom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because, guys, and Solar Boredom, thank you for writing in again. Noel and Matt, you may know this as well. I have had a letter to Solar Boredom sitting in drafts. My error of not sending it. I got so excited when someone mentioned the opening song doorbell cue because the way I have it in the draft, which you will read, Solar Boredom, is simply all praise due to my pal, Matt Frederick. He and I worked pretty closely on some odd stuff, and we were pretty sure we'd get the boot when we started this strange endeavor. And when Noel, when you joined up, we just had some real gas on the fire. So all praise to Matt on that intro.
Well, and also just to point out that was the theme for the original incarnation of the show, which was visual on YouTube. And in the video opening for the series, there's like a creepy dude at a door, right, Matt?
Well, yeah, there's a dude in the basement, which happens to be the one they called Ben, and he's checking out a conspiracy board, and he hears that doorbell ring, and immediately after it, the front door opens and the logo, the show's logo that used to be on a manila folder, falls down as the door opens. And that's the reasoning behind the doorbell that still exists in the old song from 06.
Mm-hmm. And it's a delightful Easter egg that continues on to this day.
Mm-hmm. And for a side note too, thank you to everybody who watches our videos, our original incarnation of the show. As you said, just a side note, this was back before the men's rights stuff ruined trilbies and fedoras for everyone. So I was still rocking a pretty cool one.
It was a Men in Black thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Very much so. Very much so. And
trench coats are right out as well, So not that you were, I'm just saying fashion choices that have not, history has not been kind to.
You're right, Noel. I'm still stuck in my glory days of the 1800s with that stuff.
Exactly.
But to the point that I think resonated with all of us here, Noel, the cycles of abuse. One thing that really stands out about your letters, Solar Boredom, is the question about male children being abused as well. It has to be statistically inevitable, right? Isn't that what we discovered?
Yeah, it certainly does, based on what we know about, again, a lot of these kind of insular communities that have very specific guidelines around their sexuality and around their kind of separation from secularism and all of that stuff. We know that if you're kind of, I guess, I don't know, it's hard, it's a tricky subject, but I guess I would use the term repressed slightly, and that we see that in other situations and other cases of abuse, and whatever the inclination of the person whose sexual urges are being repressed might be, that will determine who they act on those repressed sexual urges toward. I'm sorry, it's a very tricky thing, and I'm not saying everybody would ever do that, like there certainly are going to be cases where someone has made the choice to not live a sexual lifestyle and they're perfectly okay with that choice. But then there are individuals who perhaps have darker tendencies and something clicks, something snaps, and it causes them to act out in this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we see this time and time again in civilizations or communities or societies that have repressed people's natural proclivities as human beings. You need look no further than insert fundamentalist community here. And I'm not saying fundamentalist specifically in a Christian sense. I hope that's clear. But when you prevent people from being human in one way or another, their human side will still show.
Well, and that's not to say, I'm not trying to imply that the Amish community aren't allowed to have sex. That's not the case at all. It is just an act that is very specifically designed to procreate and to build a massive family and carry on the legacy of this type of belief system. And of course, things like, queerness, any sort of, attraction to same genders would be absolutely looked down upon. So I would almost argue that it's even more likely that abuse on same-sex individuals would be common because of the fact that there's no other outlet for that at all, Yeah,
I'll join you in this bag of badgers. It is quite a sticky wicket and difficult to discuss. And I think you're absolutely nailing it there, Noel. One other example, for instance, would be the atrocious, unclean rate of same-sex abuse in very fundamentalist parts of the world, like Bachibazi in Afghanistan, which we have discussed before, and which I think further emphasizes your point.
Bro, some of the allegations against P. Diddy, in the hip hop community, the idea of like being on the down low or whatever, like it wasn't until very recently in that kind of culture that folks like Tyler the Creator and Frank Ocean and some of these bigger names have come out and made it kind of okay to be gay. As
Shout
a
out
black
Little
man,
Nas X.
a million, of course, I did not mean to leave him out, but you understand what I'm saying? Like for the longest time, that community was so based on masculine attitudes and actions. And when you hear about things like what R. Kelly was convicted of, and now the accusations against P. Diddy, many of which involve same-sex abuse.
Have you seen the allegations, guys, of I'm going to use a term that's not real, the satanification of some of that stuff in popular media and it being linked to specific things?
Of what stuff? Of sex?
Popular music and sexual things that are very popular right now, including somebody like Lil Nas X. And, it's weird because
he does dry hump the devil in one of his videos.
That's a human being dressed as the devil.
But that's what I'm saying. If you're making the artistic choice to include what would be considered satanic imagery in your thing, like as a symbolic thing or whatever thing, it doesn't help your, whatever case. Like, no, this isn't satanic.
No, seriously.
Like Alice Cooper. I mean,
yeah, going way back, Ozzy Osbourne, all that kind of stuff.
Marilyn Manson. Also, Marilyn
side.
Manson turned out to be an awful, awful person who probably did many of the things that he was accused of.
Yeah, also, beat me here, Dylan. F you, Brian. You're a bad person.
Brian.
Is that his name?
He's Brian Warner is his name, and he was not the nerdy dude from the Wonder Years, despite internet rumor mongering. But,
Still
sorry,
has all
man.
his ribs.
Please continue.
I guess what I mean to say is I'm noticing, and I think I'm just screwing with my algorithm a lot by like specifically staying on reels for longer than I should be to like analyze a couple of them, and then now my
It thinks you're into
like,
that.
Oh, dude, this is all you want, right?
Yeah.
But people who right now fully believe that some version of Satan or, Horus or Set or the evil one or whatever this thing is in control of a lot of popular culture, especially popular music. And we've talked about that on the show before. Sorry to take us down angle here.
Are we in a second satanic panic, or is this cyclical?
It's hard because of the bubble, right? I don't know how much I am being catered to now by that algorithm because I watch one or two things to analyze them versus how much that actually exists out on the planet. People really feeling that way without irony, saying Satan's got a hold of, everybody, including Taylor Swift and, just name your popular cultural person.
I feel certain people believe that. I think there's no question that there are people out there that believe that with their whole hearts.
I would argue that demographic has grown due in part to the algorithms mentioned earlier there. We have to remember, for many people, this is an argument existing in the realm of metaphor. But for many other people, a growing number of humans, this is not a matter of metaphor. It is a matter of literal interference by infernal powers. And the thing that to help just level set anybody's trying to help a loved one off the ledge there, one of the best questions about that is if you accept the idea of an infernal being that solely exists in defiance of God, then you also inherently accept the fact or the belief that God is a omnipresent, omniscient entity. If that is the truth, if all things being said previously are true, then why would you worry about the devil?
I mean, I don't know that you need a devil with some of the interpretations of God being as vindictive as he is.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Argument.
It feels
Shout
that
out
way.
Yaldabaoth. All right, let's go with it. I dig it.
But the whole point was to bring it back to attempting to explain the behaviors of somebody, right? Like a father in one of these communities who does this to their own children, a brother or a sister that does it to their sibling. I want to reference somebody who called in. They called in anonymously, but I just want to give this like version of it.
Please.
Because I think in our discussion, it was, we had a specific part in the show where we were discussing how could somebody who was abused go to court and defend, like write a letter in defense of their abuser, right?
Mary Byler's mother. Byler's mother.
Yeah, there were several examples given throughout that thing that were like somebody was pushed by the community to do something like that, right? This anonymous person called in tears, I would say, from the assessment, telling us about how she was molested by her brother, but she absolutely loves her brother and acknowledges he was abused before he abused her. And the person that abused him, it's known, was abused by somebody older than him. Oh, boy. And wrote just the complex nature of being abused by a close family member like that. And, if at least in my case, and I've been in that situation, I can't fully empathize with the complex nature of the feelings that would exist there, right?
Sure.
We can talk about the rage and all that things because I know that it would exist for sure, right? But I don't maybe fully understand that other part. That is this person saying, I love my brother no matter what, because he went through the same horrible stuff that I went through.
And I listened to that as well and want to thank you, Anonymous, for reaching out. We respect your anonymity, and please just know that you're helping people when you take a stand on this stuff.
I got to say, though, I mean, it does feel like that is an explanation, but it's certainly not a justification. You know,
Agreed.
Someone can have serious mental illness and issues, and if they choose to ignore them and not seek help or not take responsibility for their own actions and just keep blaming it on their abuse, then you're not breaking the cycle, and then you're just perpetrating it. You're perpetuating it, rather. So, you know, I mean, I'm not saying, you know, we're all imperfect beings, you know,
Sure.
but I just do think after a time, there does come a point where you have to say, I can't continue doing this.
I appreciate that, though, because I think what you're doing there is making a tremendously important point against oversimplifying these things. They cannot be oversimplified. The human is a complex being. Every single one is pretty unique. And we're talking about intergenerational conspiracies of abuse. We're talking about the danger of normalization. We're talking about things that cannot have a broad brush applied. Because if you say that someone who was harmed at one point will inevitably harm someone else, then we're getting very close to a dangerously oversimplified argument. It would be the same as saying anybody who got in a car accident, anybody who got hit by another car is inevitably going to hit another car years down the road. That's simply not true. But it's as you said, it is so complex. And the main thing to remember is that if you have been victimized in some way, you are a survivor. It is not your fault. And the fact that you are here this evening listening to this show, we are immensely grateful and we are profoundly proud of you.
And just last thing, I mean, you know, I can understand as well the complex nature of the abused in saying, my brother, I love my brother. He is the product of his environment. Therefore, he did this thing to me. Therefore, I have to forgive him because he did not choose to be this way. It was forced upon him. And while I understand that thought process, I don't think it holds water when you disconnect yourself from the emotionality of it. You know what I mean? Like,
I just don't know. I guess that's a privileged position to not know, but that's the one I find myself in.
and do you think it's a privileged position as well to be the abused and to be able to decide that that person should be forgiven? Like, is it up to society or the courts or whatever to judge that person? Or is it up to the person who is abused? It's a mind F.
Well, the specific things we were talking about in the show were instances where someone was abused and they attempted to press charges, right? And in that discussion, we found that several times those charges got lessened. You know, when the community surrounded for support, we found that, as we said, letters of support would be written by the person who was abused. So I don't know, man. I'm even kind of lost my train of thought there.
So, I mean, obviously, this is a very complex issue with so many questions, and we do appreciate everyone that wrote to us about it, especially folks that would come, to us with personal experience, and we really appreciate the trust and the honesty. And I think it's tremendously valuable to anyone else listening who's been in a similar situation. So we thank you with all of our hearts. And let's take a quick break, hear a word from our sponsor, and then we'll come back with some more messages from you.
And we've returned, and we are jumping to the phone lines to have a little fog roll in on this almost still spooky season, right? I think that's one of the things we're going with this week. This person is calling in not with anything really specific, but they are commenting on some things we recently talked about on Strange News. And they mentioned something that, guys, I want to do just a little spur of the moment analysis of something that's mentioned, if that's okay. I've left some links in our doc, and we'll go through them together if that's cool. So let's listen to this message.
Fog rolls in. Subject matter: name that bank scandal. I too have been caught up in more than one bank scandal. I think I got like $20 some odd out of the Wells Fargo settlement they did a couple years ago. I'm just now learning about the TD Bank one. I remember I had to get a new bank account when I bought a house, because apparently they don't deal with mobile banks. You have to have a brick and mortar location, which is fascinating because so many brick and mortar locations are closing because, got to feed the shareholder monster somehow. I don't know. Are we surprised that Ferengi behavior governs everything and that Ferengi rules of acquisition ruin everything? And that's what we got. You know, some Boeing, Tesla, Cybertruck, chemical factories now in Atlanta. Are you guys all right? You need a gas mask? Do you have one? I hope you have one. I travel with one in the back of my car.
Nice.
You know, apparently the only person you can trust with your safety is yourself. It doesn't matter who they call themselves or how much they claim to make as far as money goes. And none of them will ever see any form of justice for the horrible decisions they make that may or may not kill hundreds of people or cause cancer for hundreds of people. I don't remember the Ferengi taking over the planet, but man, Ferengi rules of acquisition definitely govern this planet. How do you guys feel about that? Like, or is it just like everybody else? I'm a single teardrop in the ocean. What am I going to do? Anyway, Jones, I love the show. Thank you for what you do. And as we are not together, a ghost cheers, I propose. Bye, Charlie.
There we go. From the Viking himself. So Viking makes a lot of interesting points there, shouting out several things. We can tackle them in any order. Eventually, I want to get to the Ferengi rules of acquisition with you guys.
Sure.
And
I know them well. Yeah.
Oh, good. We're going to go through them a little bit, I think, and name off some of the rules. And I've shared a link to those. But first, what was that? Ben, you said something about a gas mask. I know we've talked about being prepared for things in the past, right? We've talked about go bags, things to carry in your car. We've talked about things to protect yourself when, as Viking said, really you have to rely on yourself when it comes to protecting yourself and anyone else who's, let's say, rolling with you in a vehicle or staying with you in your home. Just anything you want to state on gas masks in particular?
It's good to have one. It's good to have two. They're also more affordable than we might assume.
Oh, nice. Okay. And we've talked about that before. If anyone is interested in something like that, it's like the stores that will sell military surplus often.
Yes, you can find them in your local military surplus store. Keep in mind, not all gas masks are created equal. Get a new one. Don't get a deal on a used one. Look, if you could get a deal on a used one, I'd be all about it, but it's not going to be a good deal, which will probably come up in a Ferengi quote later, quotation. But please check the ratings and really consider what you want it for. Because just like a water filter, not all of these gas masks are filtering the same things.
Excellent point. Excellent point. All right, so guys, I thought this would be kind of fun. I remember the Ferengi as an interesting alien species that was just very good at, I don't know, getting their way often. There appears to be all kinds of discussion about this specific Star Trek alien species.
As a bit of a racist trope, right? Like, potentially, depending on your perspective or what country you come from. I think it's been accused of being a stand-in for different races that are seen as adversarial, perhaps, or like, you know, known for being like meticulously capitalist.
Yeah, that's I guess how I recollect it from watching Deep Space Nine as a child. It looks like there's been a lot of discussion after the Ferengi kind of left my world and I just kind of remembered them. So I'm not really sure here if we are just making, a reference to Star Trek or if we are just talking about capitalism or what. But I thought as a fun thing, we could go through the stuff that Viking mentioned there, the Ferengi rules of acquisition, just to see if it feels like it's our world and not a Star Trek universe. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So if you guys don't mind pulling up the link, we'll just go through these. It's the one from the Saint Minutia website in our doc there. It's it's ST. It's Star Trek Minutia. It's a great website.
Got it.
st-minutia.com. And it has the entirety of the canon rules of acquisition here.
We're not going to go through all 500 of these, though.
No, I thought it would be fun to just like randomly say.
Yeah.
So the format I imagined, guys, would be like this. Rule 1, once you have their money, never give it back. I don't know. That makes sense to me, I
Sure.
guess. I don't know.
Rule 3, never pay more for an acquisition than you have to. I mean, that's just good business, right?
Right.
Yeah, going off this list, which is, I think, roughly canonical, you'll notice, astute listeners, it skips number 2. There are 2 competing number 2s. So we'll just go to number 6, skipping 4 and 5. Never allow family to stand in the way of opportunity.
Oh, yeah. Got to put profits over family for sure. Well, the reason why it does this, guys, is because in the show, like somebody will state that that's rule number X or whatever, of the rules of acquisition, and
this list cites the episodes they come from as well, and which series.
So theoretically, nobody ever said what rule 4 was.
And you can go to like other articles where they cite more things, and that's because some of these things get referenced in novels. As well as the TV show.
Guys, having not seen any of these episodes, how do they put it? They go, rule number 1 of the Ferengi rules of acquisition. And then they state
Sometimes.
it. Is it something along those lines? Because they are, yes. Okay, got it.
In the books, you'll also see it mentioned as, kind of like when people are following a religion and they rationalize what they're doing by citing
Scripture.
a book.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's how it occurs.
Makes
organically, we would say. At least that's my take.
Oh, that's great. I like rule 16. A deal is a deal until a better one comes along.
I like rule 10. Greed is eternal. How is that a rule? Like, that just seems like an observation.
Yeah, that's not really a rule.
Yeah, I do love rule 7 though, because as I mentioned, that I believe the design of these characters, they do have quite massive ears, and this rule is keep your ears open, which I think maybe was a little bit of a joke. I don't know. It's funny.
Okay, rule number 40, she can touch your lobes, but never your latinum.
What is a latinum?
Latinum
touch your lobes sounds dirty.
Latinum is fascinating. It's this fictional, like almost mercury-looking liquid metal thing that is worth just so many credits, and it's highly, highly coveted. It's awesome. It looks really cool. You can see it displayed in like a glass sometimes.
Number 112, never have sex with the boss's sister, followed by number 113, always have sex with the boss.
Hey, there you go. It sounds like a cult to me. Well, anyway, there's a whole list here. I don't even know how many there are, guys, because again, they don't go by the numbers. They're just, a lot. But, they're amazing. More is good. All is better. That's rule number 242. Boom.
How many known rules are there, Matt?
I'm at least down to rule 289 that I have seen.
Okay.
So that's a lot. Hopefully there's a book. I wonder if there's a Ferengi acquisition book like that.
Oh, there has to be. There has to be.
Yes. You can't free a fish from water. Huh. Okay, that's rule 217. Oh, this is the one, guys. Employees are the rungs on the ladder of success. Don't hesitate to step on them. That's from rule 211.
Wow. Yeah. And so maybe the argument is that this is a hyper-capitalistic sci-fi depiction of things that are followed in capitalism.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So just the imagined ideas of capitalism run amok to the point where that is the only thing that is important, right? Profits over any creature, over health, over any family, and literally anything. Profits are the one thing that you chase, and that's it. And, we've talked before in this show about how we're in a system that is kind of set up that way with open markets, right? Publicly traded markets. The way it functions is just kind of what it does. That's what it was designed for. And it does, I don't know, it makes me uncomfortable. I'm sure it makes a lot of people uncomfortable, including our caller Viking there. I guess the important thing maybe here is to, when you're thinking about this and the negativity of it, is to point at the system. If you're going to be, if you're feeling negative about it, because it is the system itself. And it was designed to do exactly what it's doing. And that is kind of the thing, I don't know, that causes me a lot of anxiety when I think about what happened with that chemical plant, as Viking said, what happened with, these banks that just decided we're going to allow drug profiteers to launder their money, however long and however much they want.
I mean, all of those things are kind of true, right? We're not too far away from Conyers, where it appears that although this huge chemical leak did not kill a bunch of people yet, it appears that they were able to get away with cutting corners at the very least. Would we agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Guys, rule number 177 is know your enemies, but do business with them always.
Right.
Hear all, trust nothing. That's rule 190. Amazing.
Another ear joke.
Right.
Yeah. There you go. It's another ear joke. Sleep can interfere with your lust for latinum. That's the expensive thing.
Currency. Yeah.
Don't sleep. It's going to interfere.
There are things too that come from these weird, like, I'm looking through different sources of this, and the listed things often, jump around. For instance, there is no rule 295 that we can find, but the very last rule I see is 431 and 299. 299 from Star Trek Voyager is whenever you exploit someone, it never hurts to thank them. That way it's easier to exploit them the next time, which
Ouch.
sounds, yeah. And then 431, I don't know, sounds pretty mission specific. When the shooting starts, let the mercenaries handle it.
That's smart. That's just smart thinking.
I guess. Good business for the mercs.
Yeah, man. Rule number 255. A wife is a luxury. A smart accountant is a necessity.
Oh, God. And not all of this ages well. There's one that's
not.
females in finance don't mix.
Ooh,
I
yep.
mean,
There you
geez.
go. The world has been a lot of different things a lot of the time, and we learn as we go. All right, so that's it for this piece of listener mail. We'll be right back with one more message from you.
And we've returned. We'll keep this short with just a few letters from home, because as we are recording, it is almost Halloween here. So we have Noctivigation on the way. We'll give a brief shout out to our Facebook group. Here's where it gets crazy. As we mentioned in the past, we often ask our fellow listeners to give us one host name or a joke when you sign up for the Facebook page. And I thought it'd be fun just to share two of those really quickly. Here's one from Jeremy. Jeremy says, Ben, Matt, Noel, I wanted to do something cute, but I just want to get here while I'm thinking about it. I found the show by a subject search on Anunnaki, I think. Let's pause there. Do we remember the Anunnaki? Weren't they like the fallen angels?
I always get Nephilim and Anunnaki weirdly intertwined. I always thought Nephilim were the combination of whatever the Anunnaki were in humans.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Anunnaki are the ancient Sumerian deities, right?
Oh, gosh, man. I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
Religious syncretism strikes again. And so Anunnaki inspired Jeremy to reach out to us. And Jeremy says, since then, I went back to the start and I've been listening in order for about a yearish. I just started the first episode of 2019. I love knowing now what we didn't know back then. And I'm just waiting for it to come back up in a future episode. Love you guys. Oh, and I'm starting Ridiculous History today.
Aw, that's sweet.
So thank you for that letter from home, Jeremy. We hope you enjoy it. We also have a bit of a time capsule experience ourselves when we look back at classic episodes that we're republishing, like our vaccines, fact and fiction episode. Did you guys listen back to that?
Nope.
It's a ride. It's definitely pre-pandemic.
It was, well, yeah, we talked about it. It was mostly about anti-vaccine movements when it came to like people who were all in on the belief that maybe there was a connection to the autism spectrum, like with vaccinations. And I think a lot of the vaccinations from the past, but that's well pre-COVID-19 stuff, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can tell we weren't sure what was coming, but just like in our previous Superbug episode, we noted the statistical inevitability of this. We also want to give a big shout out to Taylor, who joined us on Facebook by saying, "You guys are my favorite homies who don't know they're my homies." Do you guys have homies that don't know you're their homies?
I mean, there are a lot of podcasters that have no idea that I feel like they're my best friends. So yeah, I identify with that a lot.
Yeah, we're right there with you, Taylor. Also, while we're just keeping this for light letters from home, because we got a little heavy there for a moment, I thought I was talking with our Tennessee pal, Dylan Fagan, off air, and this is just a fun Halloween conversation, sort of off the rip. You guys went trick-or-treating as children, right?
I'm going trick-or-treating tomorrow as we record this.
Wait a minute, you've just broken the illusion.
Sorry.
So what is the weirdest thing you guys got when you were trick-or-treating?
You asked this earlier, and I nothing comes to mind. I'm thinking of like, don't some people give out like fruit or something? I don't know. Like,
oh yeah,
nothing really major. I don't know. Maybe you guys experience was different.
Yeah, when I was a kid, there were a couple houses when I was little. Wow, I can't believe I remember this. There were a couple houses that would give away home baked goods as like the thing.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Don't know if that would fly today. It's just, people are freaked out about that kind of stuff.
I thought it was a treat. I remember specifically lemon bars. That's why I love lemon bars today, I think.
With the little crumbly stuff on top?
Yeah. Just
fabulous.
Like in plastic wrap. Just wrapped it up and put it in there. And I was like, thanks. And they were amazing.
Have you guys seen all the memes where it's like, make sure to check your Halloween candy? I found the entire Uruk-hai army inside the Snickers bar, and various things of that nature.
Really got Trojan horsed.
What's the Uruk-hai army? What's that?
From the Lord of the Rings. They're the real baddies, the bad orcs, the mega orcs.
Okay.
We're getting real pop culture here.
But in the image for the meme, it's a cross section of a Snickers with a tiny shot of that scene where they're like amassing.
And Dylan has a great story as well. We may not share it on air. I'll give you one. For 2 years in a row, there was a very wealthy guy in the neighborhood who had big fun uncle energy and quite a long driveway. And again, 2 consecutive years, instead of candy, he was clearly having like an adult party during Halloween evening. And he would give us lottery tickets, 1 lottery ticket and 1 condom each.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I don't know if that go over well in certain communities.
It didn't go over well at the time, to be honest.
Well, a lottery ticket it would be considered like a vice. That's tantamount to giving out cigarettes and liquor or something.
Yeah, he was probably that was probably another thing he would have done. But I want to thank my mother for being so diplomatic. You could tell she was a teacher. She took one look at this prophylactic and then said, "Oh, that's candy for adults," and took it away. And then my dad said, "No, let him keep it."
Was it a flavored prophylactic? I don't understand.
I don't think so. I did not see it for long. Just mystified. Please follow the rules of the road when you're giving kids candy.
Yeah. And don't eat condoms either. I know they look delicious, but they're not good.
There are forever chemicals in many of those prophylactics,
yes.
So don't chew them.
Yes, exactly. And with this, we're going to end a little bit late with some Halloween jokes from our pal, Humorous Harry. Remember Humorous Harry?
Oh, dear. How could we forget?
Yeah.
He's a menace.
He is he is one of our favorite menaces.
Yes.
Menaces.
Sure.
Menaci. So Humorous Harry says, oh God, these are bad. How can you keep that part in? How can you tell that Frankenstein's monster is in love?
Hold on. Something about his neck bolts. I don't know.
Close. He falls to pieces.
Does he though? I guess maybe.
He's made of pieces.
He does.
And
typically though, in the canon of Frankenstein, he usually doesn't like fall apart though, like Humpty Dumpty.
Yeah, right. Because he's sewn together so tight.
He is.
Yeah. Here's one that I bet we can guess. What do you call a wolf that is lost?
A lone wolf?
No, I got it.
You got it. What is it? You got it.
Oh, you always say it?
Yeah.
Say it.
Werewolf?
Stop it. It's like the witch is the witch. You know what I mean? Witch. Yeah.
What is an apparition's favorite food?
Oh, hold on. Oh,
You got this.
no, I don't.
It's something for people who like things spicy.
But,
that could be. This is several. It could be a
Yeah.
reaper.
Yeah.
ghost
or-
pepper. A ghost
Ghost pepper. You got
Yes.
it. Well done. You guys both got one.
That was a pretty good clue, though, man.
Well.
I didn't get all the way there. Thank you for the
you
nudge.
got there.
No.
You got there. Why are vampires so good at baseball? Because they bring their own bats. Dylan, I hope you're putting some weird rim shots in after each of these. We are going to call it an evening. Thank you so much to everybody who wrote in or called or contacted us online. Thanks to Jeremy, Taylor, Viking, Solar, Boredom, and of course, Anonymous. If you would like to join the show, we'd love to hear from you. We try to be easy to find so many ways.
Oh, my goodness. Do we ever? And we hopefully succeed. We'd like to think so. You can find us at the handle Conspiracy Stuff, where we exist on Facebook with our Facebook group. Here's where it gets crazy, as well as on X, FKA Twitter, and on YouTube with video content galore for your perusing enjoyment. On Instagram and TikTok, however, we are Conspiracy Stuff Show.
Do you want to let the fog roll in like Viking did? Why not call 1-833-STDWYTK? When you call in, don't say the fog rolls in, because that's Viking's thing. But make up your own catchphrase introduction statement.
I know we're way past Halloween at this point, but I'd say, okay, again, peek behind the curtain. It's not Halloween yet. IRL. Right now, have you guys seen the John Carpenter movie, The Fog, about spooky ghost pirates?
Sure, not to be confused with The Mist.
That's right. The Mist is different. The Fog is pretty schlocky, but it's a lot of fun.
Well, I need to check that out. I haven't seen it yet. The Mist. Really liked. I actually liked the movie adaptation of that.
Seriously, bummer ending.
Yep. So when you call in, make up your cool catchphrase, give yourself a cool name so we can put it in the system.
Or your real name if you're comfortable.
Whatever we're going to put it in our system so we know when you call in again and we can keep track of you. No, it's just so we can know our correspondence. We want you to be a part of the show, like for real. Call that number, do all that stuff, then you got 3 minutes, say whatever you'd like. If you've got more to say, or maybe you have some attachments or photos or something like that, why not instead send us a good old-fashioned email? We are
the entities that read every piece of correspondence we receive. Be well aware yet unafraid. Sometimes the void writes back. We promise it won't be bad news. But how can you know for sure? It appears you have to join us out here in the dark. Conspiracy at iHeartRadio.com.
Stuff They Don't Want You to Know is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.